Is the spark in your relationship starting to fade after years together? Dive in with us as we explore ways to ignite that flame again and to keep that passion alive. This is the Strength of Seduction podcast, the #1 resource for Black couples who want to build intimacy, love, and connection in their relationship. I'm your host, Daniel DiPiazza. Welcome back to the Strength of Seduction podcast, the #1 resource for Black couples who want to build intimacy, love, and connection in their marriage. I'm your host, Daniel DiPiazza. If you are new here and you're watching this on YouTube, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for updates. If you're listening to this on your favorite podcast platform like Apple or Spotify, make sure to subscribe and leave a review. We really appreciate it. Now, we also have an incredible episode for you today that you're going to truly enjoy. But before we do that, some new free stuff for you. Strength of Seduction has just released a new 6-page guide called the Relationship Health Assessment. This guide contains 20 questions you can use to uncover the strengths and to find the biggest opportunities for growth in your marriage. You can get it for free by heading to www.strengthofseduction.com/health. We polled over 17,000 beautiful Black couples in their 30s, 40s, and 50s in the 2023 Black Love Study, the majority of whom had been married for 10 years or more. And the results were truly enlightening. Couples who score highest on this assessment are the happiest. So I encourage you to take the assessment yourself and then have your partner take it and discuss what you find. Now, on to today's show. We're talking about rekindling the flame, keeping the passion alive after decades together. And this is something that many of us listening to this can relate to. People who have been together for 10 years plus have a different experience of the way love feels after it's been 1, 2, or more decades. Let's talk about the evolution of passion in a long-term relationship. I think the first piece of this is understanding the natural progression of intimacy. We have to recognize that the honeymoon phase is a phase and that it does transition into other phases with the responsibilities that come with children and integrating families and living a life together and all the things we learn about each other along the way. Really, though, what's happening is a deepening of connection over time. And in this process of going from just having met someone and, exploring the beginnings of your dating relationship with them, and then getting more serious, and then tying the knot, and then building the family, all of that comes with, along the way, shifts in intensity. That's part of the relationship dynamic. So at your hottest and heaviest moments, you wouldn't want to necessarily keep that energy all the time, even though it was and is very exciting when you're extremely passionate, extremely intimate all the time. You wouldn't necessarily want to keep that energy all the time because there's different contexts for when that energy is appropriate. And so we have to accept that those shifts in intensity will come as part of relational dynamics, also depending on what's going on with other people in their life. Mental and physical health issues, work stress, life stress, all those things affect that dynamic in the relationship. One of the points I really love to think about when we're talking about the evolution of passion here is just differentiating between infatuation and deep-seated love. Infatuation's nature is, by its very design, fleeting. When you are infatuated with someone, you've just met them, everything you find about them is interesting. You're thinking about them all the time, and it literally feels like a drug. When you're in that honeymoon phase, love feels like a drug. And lasting love over time isn't as sharp. It isn't as urgent necessarily. It isn't as intense, but it is more nuanced. It is more textured. It is more mature in that way. And what can happen during this time is that you really start to see that mature love is built on trust and understanding and shared experiences. when you're infatuated with someone, this is probably before you've had too much test of the relationship. But as the relationship gets tested, you build trust or you break it. You build understanding. You create shared experiences. And that's what really transitions the love from just a pure infatuation of the honeymoon phase into that deep-seated love. And you can see signs of those types of changes happening in the relationship as they're happening. So, for instance, when you're just infatuated with someone, you might just be thinking about your time together and excited to have that passion and that high level of intensity. But when you are transitioning from just the honeymoon phase and that really surface level attraction to profound love, you're starting to think about people's needs before they express them. You're starting to take into consideration their comforts, their desires, and their needs into your equation for your life. And you're starting to integrate what they would benefit from with what you would benefit from. And that's how you can really tell that true deep love is being formed. And if you're listening to this, you're most likely been married for a while and you're very familiar with that, taking other people's needs into account. But it's just interesting to remember how that evolves throughout a relationship. Now, as passion continues to change throughout the relationship, you really can start to see familiarity as a strength. It's a challenge and a strength because there's a comfort in knowing your partner deeply, right? There's a comfort in knowing what to expect. There's a comfort in having your side of the bed and having your little secret language that you have with each other and your inside jokes and having someone who knows exactly where you like to put the cereal on the top, on the left, and there's a real safety and a value in having someone who knows how to order your food for you or knows how to, make sure that the kids are taken care of when you get home because it's been a long day, who can just tell by the tone of your voice, by the way that you put your bag down when you come in the door, by the way that you answer hello on the phone, someone who can really just tell everything that they need to know about you that day. I mean, that's so valuable, and that can only come from being with someone for a long time. That's the one thing, or not the one thing, but one of the things I love so much about being married. It's just that awesome shared bond that you have when you just know so deeply what each other want and need that you don't even need to say anything. It's lovely. I love to have it. And there's a real comfort in that. And there's also a pitfall in that of taking each other for granted. If that is your everyday state of knowing this person and knowing what to expect, you can get bored. Or even if you're not bored, you just become complacent because it's just average, everyday stuff. You're not excited by it because it's nothing new and stimulating. And so you take each other for granted. And that definitely happens in long-term relationships. And so I think it's just important to keep the curiosity alive in the relationship. One thing you can do, which I found has been really helpful, we have a few different series of, Sarah and I have a few different series of these couples cards. I don't know what the brand is. I'll talk about it on a later podcast. I'll put a link to my favorite brands in the show notes for this actually, so you can check when you're watching this on Spotify or Apple. But we have these couples cards. They just have interesting, engaging questions for each other and things that maybe we hadn't thought of in a while, or things that we'd never asked each other. And we'll just keep them out in different places around the house. And sometimes I'll just open the box and just ask her a question. And it's just an interesting way to keep curiosity alive and keep poking at each other in a playful way and just to learn more about each other. And there will be things you learned about each other, even as you get older, even if you've been together for decades. I'm still learning stuff about Sarah, and we've been together 13 years now. And it's definitely possible. And it makes life a lot more fun when you can keep that curiosity alive. Although the familiarity is so comforting. Now, when you're going through all this, this evolution of your relationship, and you have these big life changes that are happening, like you're raising kids, you're making career shifts, obviously it's going to affect the passion in the relationship, the flame to a certain extent. I mean, when you are a new parent, couples time it gets put aside for a while you're a new parent. It can get put aside for a while you're a new parent. And that's totally understandable because you have a new life that you're responsible for. Sometimes multiple new lives that you're responsible for. And you're just trying to make it, just trying to hold it all together. But over time, and I think that's normal and natural in the beginnings of parenthood. But I think over time, if if the energy that was diverted into the children never gets at least correctly prioritized in relationship to your intimate relationship with your partner, with your spouse, I think if those two things never come back into balance, you'll always see that effect on the household. And that will have an effect on the actual passion and intimacy in your relationship. And it will have an effect on the children who you were directing your energy to anyway. Because how many households have you seen who are only staying together for the children? And maybe they were even pretty good before kids, and then they kind of drifted apart and got to a point where they went from good to neutral to bad over the course of a long relationship. And it's definitely not the kid's fault, but it's like you put so much energy into something else that's not the relationship, that how do you expect the relationship to thrive and to prosper? So it's just worth noting that while the attention has to go to a new life, obviously, at a certain point you have to say, all right, we need to make sure that we're taking care of us, because taking care of the relationship is a form of self-care, because you're bonded with this person, you're married with this person. So if you don't water that garden, but you're eating from that garden, well, how do you expect to be fed, you know? So anyway, think about it. I think that there are also strains that career growth and changes can bring, you know, when one partner has to move or in a happy case gets an upgrade in their career, or in a not so happy case gets a downgrade, or they lose their job. Those things can have a real flux on the relationship, and money stress and career stress can definitely take the focus away from the partnership. So it's something to consider and to remember, and to know that that's normal, but to not let it be the final answer for you. Just because it happens to a lot of us and it happens to pretty much everyone who experiences it for a time doesn't mean that you have to let it run your life. So just because you do have work stress or family stress or money stress doesn't mean that you also can't pour into the relationship. They're not mutually exclusive. And we just learn to adapt to life's unpredictabilities as a united front, you know, as a partnership, as a team. And it feels so much better going against it with someone who has your back than trying to do it all alone, doesn't it? And then, you know, another point here is just embracing the natural ebb and flow of passion over time and accepting periods of lower intensity as a natural part of it. And of course, there's always strategies to reignite passion during those lulls, which is one of the reasons why we created Strength of Seduction, the workouts. So we have, you know, over 10 different workout programs now. We have yoga, and we have strength training, and we have cardio, and we have some really sensual, sexy stuff, and all different types of programs to help you connect physically, mentally, and emotionally. And everyone who's listening to this, or maybe not everyone, but most people who are listening to this, well, you're customers of that. So you know this. And so, hey, just pop in that DVD or load that video up and just connect with each other. You know, this is a simple strategy for reigniting. You can even check out the Strength of Seduction book, which we also have, which just goes through different exercises, mental, physical, and emotional, to reignite that passion. And just make it a practice, you know, and just have a practice of connecting on a regular basis, on a weekly basis, and make it a rule to support each other during the challenging times rather than pull away. And I think you'll do really well to maintain and grow that passion. Now let's talk about, in this concept of reigniting the flame, you know, we talked a little bit about how passion evolves through a relationship. Let's talk about the idea of rediscovering each other. I believe there is a transformative power in revisiting shared memories, which is why I personally am a serial monogamist, and I love at that stage in a relationship where you have so many good memories because you've been together for a while, and you can really just recount those memories. I think, you know, all the time about stuff that Sarah and I did over a decade ago, and now it just has such a good nostalgia to it. And there were really some pivotal moments, you know, along our mutual life path, which we made decisions which shaped us, and then we can look back on those, and some of them were great decisions and some of them were kind of dumb decisions, but we think about them and they're our shared history, our shared fate. And so I think there is a power in revisiting those memories and you know, giving ourselves kudos along the way, or like, wasn't it cool when we did this, or laughing at something that happened, you know, that we didn't see coming in the past, and just using those memories to bridge back to each other, to reconnect with each other, and just recreating past experiences that we've had. You know, just a lot of the funny stuff, the funny memories are the best. They're the treasure trove. They're what I really treasure about my relationship is just the funny memories and all the laughs, and that's something that I think is irreplaceable, because yes, I could be in another relationship, but the laughs would not be the same. There would be different laughs, but they wouldn't be the same. They wouldn't be the laughs I have now. They could still be good ones, but the collection of fun throughout the relationship, hopefully you're experiencing that, and you have experienced that as well, is the best part of it. And I think that, in terms of rediscovering each other, also thinking about the benefits of planning regular date nights and spontaneous adventures is such an important part to keep learning more. Just break the routine, do something different. Like, see what's happening this weekend. And, obviously sometimes it's hard to be spontaneous when you have kids, you have to arrange childcare, but like, planned spontaneity is a thing. You can plan to have a block of time, and in that block of time, do something spontaneous. It's the same with sex, right? You can plan to have spontaneous sex. when you are just expecting something to happen spontaneously and it doesn't happen, you're disappointed. So you have to be able to plan something in order to create the conditions that you want for it as you get older in your life, because responsibilities that are urgent and fires that need to be put out will always be there. So we have to plan our pleasure. And that includes date nights as well, and quote unquote spontaneous adventures. If you guys are free for the weekend, you don't have any responsibilities for that weekend, go do something crazy. Even just see what festivals are in town, see what types of concerts are in town, see what types of go on. What is it? Like one of those daily deal sites, where you can see what types of businesses in town are offering different experiences for couples. Just do something crazy. Go go-karting. It doesn't really matter. Think of it more as you're trying to create memories. If you do the same thing you've already done every time, it's hard to create a memory. Like, think about how many times you've been to the movies with your spouse, for instance. How many of those times stand out? Probably only like the few beginning times and the ones that you just most recently had. Unless there was something significant that happened at any one of those movie experiences, you don't really remember them. You just have fun while you're watching it, but then it kind of goes into this data bank of just black hole, But there are probably only so many times when you've maybe gone to the state fair together or gone to the zoo together. Maybe a lot for you. I've only done those a few times with Sarah, maybe 3, 4. 5, I don't know, but like not as much as the movies or a restaurant. Try to plan things that you haven't actually done or that you haven't done as frequently to add to the shared memories folder. I think that's more important than just like, oh, we went out. It's like, let's do something different, And there's also some anticipation and excitement that comes from trying new things together, whether it's traveling new places or just having new experiences. I think a lot of times women are more into the new stuff than men. I feel like, especially when Sarah and I travel, she'll have multiple places she's already looked up that she wants to go. And I'll be like, can we just go to sleep in the hotel? So yeah, that's part of it. Now, when we're talking about rediscovering each other, I also feel that there's a lot of importance to just purposely ignite excitement and reignite that excitement by trying new activities. And, whether that's exploring new hobbies or classes as a couple, taking something you guys can both learn together. I personally have always wanted to take a cooking class. I've always wanted to take a cooking class or like baking or something like that. And because I just think it would be fun. And to do that with Sarah would be awesome. We'd have something to talk about, something to stimulate, which would be intimate. And, I also think that most couples have separate lives except for when they're together, if that makes sense. You have your work and you might have your personal hobbies, your personal things that you do. Not as many couples have overlapping personal hobbies or things that they share that they're both equally into. And I think if you can find something like that, it really is a rare treat. So look for it. And, when you find those activities that you both love and you can set aside time for it, it just creates that mutual bond. So yeah, overall, I think what it really comes down to when you're talking about, when you're talking about just rediscovering each other, at the end of the day, setting aside time for each other on purpose and really embracing individual and mutual growth in a relationship. It's not just the individuals growing, it's the relationship growing. And it's not just the relationship, but it's those people who have to continue to put work into themselves. So supporting each other's personal growth and personal goals, growing together by setting couples goals, and over time, seeing the strength from those two really combine, which is honestly a perfect transition because I have one more point I want to make, which is all about strengthening physical intimacy. But before we talk about that final piece of the puzzle, I wanted to share with you more about something really special that we're cooking up at Strength of Seduction. It's called Love and Legacy, and it actually has a lot to do with embracing individual and mutual growth in a relationship. And I put together a little teaser of this, a short little trailer that's going to tell you a bit more about it, and I'll catch you on the other side of that. A 2023 research study completed on over 17,000 Black couples in their 30s, 40s, and 50s revealed something truly shocking. And in the next 30 seconds, I'm going to share with you how you can use those findings to permanently elevate your marriage and your life. Imagine waking up in the morning and knowing that everything in your life and relationship is going better than ever. Your marriage is full of intimacy and connection. Your family is happy and secure. You and your partner are both on positive personal growth paths, improving your physical health, mindset, and money. And you're enjoying growth in your partnership because of it. Together, you are unstoppable. If you want this vision to become your reality, then listen up. In the 2023 Black Love Study, Strength of Seduction polled over 17,000 Black married couples in their 30s, 40s, and 50s, many of whom had been together for 10 to 20 years or more. The most common trait in the happy, successful partnership was not that these couples spent the most time trying to improve their marriage. The truth is actually much more selfish than that. The most common trait of happy, fulfilling marriages is happy and fulfilled individuals. When both partners actively pursue personal growth, the marriage benefits tremendously from this selfish act. As they grow strong independently, they grow much stronger together. So, we decided to take everything we learned from our research and apply it to the real world. The result is called Love and Legacy. Love and Legacy is a transformational 90-day mentorship program meticulously crafted for Black couples in their 30s, 40s, and 50s who are committed to elevating their relationship and personal lives to unprecedented heights. Love and Legacy is much more than just personal relationship advice. It's a complete journey that addresses every facet of the partnership, including the mental, physical, emotional, and financial elements of love. You'll dive deep into proven strategies for navigating and resolving conflicts, rekindling the spark in your sex life, achieving optimal physical and mental health, and fortifying your financial foundation. That's what Kendall and Lane said. The catch? Seats are extremely limited. We only let a few people in at a time, and all admission is... The catch? Seats are extremely limited. We only let in a few people at a time, and all admission goes through application only. If accepted into the program, here's what you can expect. The catch? Seats are extremely limited. We only let in a few people at a time, and all admission is through application. The catch? Seats are extremely limited. We only let in a few people at a time, and all admission is through application only. So if you're a Black married couple seeking to enhance every dimension of your relationship and you're dedicated to making profound changes in just 90 days, Love and Legacy is your pathway to a brighter, more fulfilling future together. To apply, you can go to strengthofseduction.com/legacy. That's www.strengthofseduction.com/legacy. Or you can check out the show notes and/or show description for this podcast to click on the link and get more details. Now, back to the show. And jumping right back into the episode here. Hope you enjoyed my little teaser for Love and Legacy. Let's now talk about strengthening physical intimacy. This whole episode has been about rekindling the flame in your relationship, especially ones that have been together for a decade or more. And let's talk about the physical intimacy. You know, there's an indispensable role of open communication in the bedroom, period. I think that even in long-term relationships with multiple kids involved, where there's been a lot of sex over the years. Still, expressing desires and boundaries clearly is a thing that people have trouble with. We all have trouble with it to a certain extent until we learn how to do it. And there's an importance in having regular check-ins on physical intimacy. How are you feeling? How is the sex for you? How are you liking it? Really getting clear on where that person stands. How are they feeling in their body? And just adapting and growing based on that feedback. And after you have kids, obviously some of that changes for women, and men also have things that they go through as they get older, and just expressing what is actually going on with them currently, what feels good right now, and just having that dialogue. It's weird, I think, that there will be couples who are together for 10, 20, or 30 years and still don't have frank and open conversations about sex, because it's such a big part of the relationship, but it goes pretty much untalked about. Or when it is talked about, it's just from a perspective of people being angry. There's not as much frank conversation around sex as I think there should be, and that leads to a lot of misunderstandings. And of course, when you're talking about strengthening your physical intimacy, there's always new things you can try. I personally feel like on the freak scale, for someone who thought up the idea of strength of seduction, I'm not a huge freak. You're not going to find me with whips and chains. It's not my particular type of thing. But you listening to this might be into that. And if you are, I think you should go for it. I really honestly think you should go for it because, surprise keeps things exciting in the relationship. And maybe you should, honestly, go visit a sex shop. You and your partner, go visit a sex shop with your husband or wife, whoever's listening to this. Go visit a sex shop and just look at all the toys they have there and see what you like. Maybe there's something you want to try, bring back home. And, adapt to what each other likes. And I think that you'll find that you both enjoy that. And as you get older, or you're experiencing different health things or the different external factors, there's just going to be physical changes, obviously. And so you have to have sensitivity around those. If the woman has had 3 of your children, she's not going to be looking exactly the same as when you met her before that, and if you've been with this guy for long enough to have 3 children, he might not be performing exactly the same. And that doesn't mean you can't have incredible standards for yourself and each other and still be working hard and looking and feeling good, but it's just not going to be the same after decades. And that's okay. That's all part of it. And obviously, this is not medical advice. Seek professional advice when needed. And there's lots of different medical solutions. Guys have like Viagra and all those different pills, and women have all these different things they can take to help them with different things that go on. But, it's like also mental and emotional health around sex is important too. So therapy around it is important as well. And just depending on where you are in your life, reinventing intimacy to suit those circumstances, because they will change. So maybe you're in a period where it's just like, I don't feel like I want to have sex. But how else can you guys be intimate in that time so that both people feel like they're getting their needs met? And there's some understanding around, where both of you are in relation to that. There's a big importance to me of vulnerability and openness and mutual respect in intimacy. And that just comes from having trust, and that trust transfers over to that physical connection. And the more open and vulnerable and respectful you can be around intimacy, I think the more trust it builds. And just being receptive to each other and what you guys need, and celebrating the unique bond of physical intimacy in your relationship. Because I think that's one of the main differentiators in marriage, is that marriage is going to allow you to share that unique physical bond with someone who you really care about. And it's something that truly sets the relationship apart. So you should cherish that bond. And I really think that there's an opportunity for you listening to this now. When we're talking about intimacy, it's not just sexual intimacy. It's just prioritizing physical connection in daily routines and special moments and simple gestures like holding hands or cuddling. The significance of maintaining that intimacy in the day-to-day life can't go understated. Just planning special nights, planning getaways to reconnect physically, and just being in each other's physical presence and being in each other's arms and kissing and hugging and doing the things that are just the sweet things, they add up to this sort of like intimacy bank. And that counts for something. In times of need, we draw on that bank that we've built up. And of course, it always needs more deposits. But it just feels good to stay connected to each other and to purposely and intentionally rekindle that physical connection. So, looking at today's show, we journeyed through the essence of passion in long-standing relationships, from the evolution of how passion changes over the relationship to how we can rediscover each other and become continually intrigued and fascinated with each other. And of course, also the importance of maintaining the physical intimacy in the relationship. And the journey of love is continuous. And by understanding and nurturing the flame, couples can ensure that it burns vibrantly for years to come. So that is it for the Strength of Seduction podcast today. If you enjoyed today's episode, make sure to like and subscribe on whatever platform you're listening to us on, and leave a review on Apple or Spotify. We'd really appreciate it. So until next time, my friends, love fiercely, communicate openly, and always find your way back to each other. Catch you next time.